Morty, it is good to see you. This is your third trip around the podcast with me. Before, early days, it was the Catalyst Sale podcast. Then you joined, and we talked about collaboration in Find by Catalyst episode. And here we are again. And I've rolled out a couple of different bars from different hip hop songs recently, and none of them have taken off. And I started with "You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge," thinking that everybody was going to go deep into NWA and understand the value of collaboration, and it didn't go. And sex and networking also didn't go. So I'm not. I got to figure. Maybe that's just not my thing.
And maybe one more test. It doesn't land. We got to move on.
We
Gotta go somewhere else. You go one more test. You gotta go one more test. And then if that doesn't work, yeah, okay, I'll move on. You tried.
What are you testing these days?
There's three main things. So because I pay attention to what people do on the platform and they're trying to make it my unique spin to it. So carousels, cheat sheets, I don't typically do those, but I know people like them because it's shareable. So that's why it's good. And the thing is, I would normally put my picture or face on or whatever, and it will get a lot of likes and engagement, but it won't get as many reposts. But your goal is to create valuable content that gets a repost. So that's why I'm doing more of that. Another thing I'm testing is theme-based videos. So I did the 12 days of Christmas with the different Christmas sweaters, which was fun. And so now I can't tell you what the next one is, but it is coming soon, and people will like it. That's all I gotta say. So we're getting prepared for that one. And then the third thing is I'm testing look backs. And I'll tell you what this means. And I don't actually think most people will do what I'm about to tell you, because it was going to require a lot of due diligence. So every tip that you share online, you want people to actually do it, but then no one ever follows up with them. So what I'm doing now is the post that I created, like, hey, like, here are the 5 steps to book meetings. I'm coming back to the people that like the post and ask them, did they actually do the thing? It's cool. So that's something I'm going to test. I won't know probably in the next 90 days. I'll have a better assessment of what that looks like.
How much time do you give them between when the content goes out? 30 days.
It's 30 days. It gives you enough time to do. I probably might cut it to 14, but people 30.
That's cool. That's cool. One of the things we do with the newsletter that we've got out is learn, think, act. So you learn, you take in some concept, you think, you connect the dots between how it relates to what you already know, and then that helps you accelerate action. And because nothing happens without that action. And this piece that you're hitting on, which is really cool, is the idea of look back and going back and follow up. When you do that, are you thinking about it in the context of tagging them in the follow-up post, or are you going back in and direct messaging? Like what's the DM? That's good.
Yeah, DM. So I'm using a tool called Condo that reminds me of the people or the post to go back. And in 30 days, I go in there. And then if that person gets results, then I can continuously keep the conversation with that person and build that way.
That's freaking awesome. Why do people go in there and they like and they comment? They're like, hey, that's great. Good idea. Whatever. But then not do anything with it.
I think it's a lot of things. I think one is distractions of things. You're like, I could be, I'm already doing the main things I'm doing right now. There's no one holding you accountable to actually do them. So I think that's like probably the number one thing for sure. I think the other thing is that people get into it and then maybe they overthink it. And then they're like, I haven't done this before. This isn't for me. I'll stick back to, again, what I normally know. Those are like the main 2 core reasons.
Very cool. You'd mentioned before we turn the mics on about going from either or to and. Yeah. What's that mean to you?
So I find on LinkedIn, especially, people are like, this is the only way to do it. And it's like, most of the time that's wrong. Like, most of the time people are saying something's dead is because they're actually not skilled at the thing. And that could come to the conclusion on that. There are things that are obviously just like, this will never work, and sure, but for the most part, things do work based on your persona or your personality. So saying something is dead is just, you just aren't good at the thing anymore, or you need to get better, is kind of my conclusion to that. So I'm saying that as in that Either or is a dangerous place to be because it's like, should we do cold calls? Should we do emails? Should we do LinkedIn? Should we do content? It's like, it's an and scenario. It isn't like oh, you need to do all of them to a degree. My core belief, though, is that you're going to have higher returns if you have a combination of outbound and content together or sales and content together, right? You can get outbound sales is the same function. And the thing is, if you have a really good outbound motion, that means that you should be booking high quality meetings. And if you have really good content going at the same time, that means you're going to book more meetings at ease, right? And that's where we're going in the future. And I've had leaders say, this is what we want to do. The downside is it's hard to track this, but I think in a couple of years from now, I think people will be able to figure it out. But it is where we're going.
Why do people think things die?
Because it's harder.
So let's go a little bit deeper. Like what's hard?
I think I have to do more. I'm getting less. People aren't responding at all. It's harder to find the information, all those things.
I mean, I think a good one that you kind of hit on, whether it's outbound is dead or cold calling is dead or what ABM is dead or any of these other things that are out there. It's kind of interesting when you get into some of the patterns. The pattern of death is usually the result or a function of someone trying to sell something new.
Yeah.
It's like
That's there is, yeah.
And it's the one that drives me nuts. Have you seen a lot of this GTM engineering stuff out there?
GTM engineering. That just doesn't even sound. What is that?
So Clay.
What is that?
So Clay is pushing this thing out there. You'll see it. And now that we've just said it, either the phone recording is going to go up and all you're going to do is see Will Ake and Clay videos or something like that.
Something's about to happen now.
Something's about to happen. But so GTM engineering is something that Clay is putting out there. And before that, there was GTM Architect, which was Jocko and his Winning by Design book.
Yep.
And for those who aren't familiar with GTM go to market, and all these words come up. Like there's architects, there's engineers, there's designers. They all get thrown in on this. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is people get excited about the word and the phrase. Someone puts together some training, could be some carousels or some listicles or something else related to it. And now all of a sudden people are GTM engineer experts. And unfortunately, many of the people either haven't gone to market or have not engineered a solution yet. For some reason, they went through some training and now they're GTM engineers. And it's buyer beware out there. This is one of those things that really fires me up. Jen and I have been talking about it a little bit more about being more direct on, I'm going to be the first one to swear on this, calling bullshit on that kind of stuff. Like it's the noise hurts founders and hurts companies when they're trying to build, because we add in this additional noise. So it's cool that you have not heard of GTM engineering yet. Now you will.
I hadn't. Now it's just like, what even is that? Now that I know, I'm kind of like, all right, best of luck, I guess.
Well, think about it. Like, what's an engineer?
So, I mean,
what's a sound engineer?
Someone who basically just, I would say, molds and creates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so I guess that it is Clay in essence. That's what it is. So it makes sense.
Yeah. It makes sense. It's one of my favorite quotes out there is there's nothing new except what has been forgotten. And it's a Marie Antoinette quote. And the biblical quote is there's nothing new under the sun. And as you go through this stuff, we try to create all of these new things, and it seems like we get further and further away from solving problems. And this is why I like that it's not either or, it's and.
It's and, yeah.
What are some of the and things you're working on?
So the main focus I have right now is uncovering how to truly use LinkedIn.
Okay.
I've identified that majority of people that are out there, I'm not calling anyone out, so someone thinks I'm subtweeting, I'm not. It's just majority of people are mainly either one, just focus on content, and they tell you don't do any outbound. Again, the reason they're telling you that is because they're not good at outbound. That's just plain and simple. I've talked to those people and they're like, oh, I'm afraid. That's why I started getting really good at content so I can get inbounds. I mean, you're not good at the skill. So that's one. And then salespeople, right, who are really into outbound and sales, and they'll be like, oh, well, content doesn't work again because they're not good at content. You'll notice most people are saying, they're like, hey, this doesn't work. It's because they don't know how to do it. And I'm not roasting. It's just like, that is what I've just seen over the years. Because I used to say certain things like, oh, that's dead. It's because I wasn't good yet. I'm going to be real myself. I'd be like, oh, that doesn't work. It's like, no, it's because you're not skilled enough. So I say content and outbound is what I'm working on right now, because on LinkedIn, if you understand how to use Sales App, if you understand how to do videos, if you understand how to engage, you can not only build some great pipeline, you can close some massive deals. And even though I understand the platform very well, in the past couple of weeks, I've realized that there's a whole nother level to it I'm excited to actually learn, that I think that can take organizations to the overall next level for their own selves, right? But you have to combine both, and it's the best platform to do that across the board.
What's an example of another level to it? Like, what are you? So I'm familiar with Sales Nav.
Yeah.
I create videos. I unfortunately, I engage in the way the bots engage now. So I think I'm really just a bot. But no, I was a bot before the bot was it. So now now I know, now I can have a name for it. But like, how are you pulling this kind of stuff together? What's something that folks who are just getting into using
Yeah.
LinkedIn, or maybe have been playing around with LinkedIn, but now they want to get serious. They want to be a professional inside the platform. What are some things they could be doing?
So right now I'm running an experiment, and I've always done this subconsciously. Now I'm more and more conscious on it.
Yeah.
I'm only talking to people that have posted in the last 30 days on LinkedIn. I'm only looking to connect with those people, because on a more super granular level, if you're on LinkedIn and you're sending connection requests and people are not accepting you, LinkedIn low key is going to flag you because they're like, you're a bot. So if you think about it, if I can connect with people who are posting the last 30 days, I have a good headline, my profile looks legit, I speak to a pain point, my acceptance rate will be higher. Benchmark is like 20%. So if I can get twice that, like 40, 50, that's more connections in my network. The more credible connections I have in my network that are executives, the easier it is for me to connect with more executives. The more executives I connect with, the more videos I can send to them. I know in the last 12 months, most executives are getting 0 videos. So I'm going to send more videos. The only thing I do is send videos, because that's the only thing not the only thing. It's just going to stand out, I believe, more than anything else. I'm testing other text-based stuff, but I know videos is going to be like, that's just what's going to hit. So I'm testing the 30 days, and then I'm doing it based on certain locations. I'm doing it based on, have you changed jobs? So I'm getting new people into the network, and I'm also getting rid of people in my network that are inactive, or like they're just not relevant anymore to what I'm trying to get in front of or sell to as well. So I'm trying to make it super quality now, based on what I've learned.
You mentioned Condo as a tool.
Yeah.
How are you pulling together? So I'm not familiar with Condo. It sounded like it does some scheduling and project management type.
Oh, this is the next level. This will cost you money. This is not free, but it actually is worth every single penny. And so Condo is like Superhuman. If you're not familiar with Superhuman, basically what it does is it takes your LinkedIn inbox and you can create folders. So when I've gone nuts with this. So and again, I'm in the infancy stages of this. I just started taking it super seriously probably in December, because I just unpacked my brain, and with AI, we like built a folder system. We could go deeper in the rabbit hole in a minute, but basically what I've done is the first set of folders is a sales cycle. So, and it's based on it's P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. So P1 is arrows fired. Those are all my outbound messages. These are all my videos, all my stuff in conversation, and all my reminders to follow up with these people.
Yep.
P2 is this going? I think it's active engagement. As active engagement. So this basically means that they responded, and now we're going back and forth to see, what times are we going to set, right?
Yep.
P3 is disco call booked. So we are on the books. So now like they are booked. So I just see how many meetings I booked. And then P4 is basically like we're in a sales conversation at this point. And then P5 is client. So that's like the first 5. And then I also have another one called feedback. So feedback is the one, because I create content, for people who are like, that was sick, that was good, that was a good talk, your talk was fire. So now I know, these people really like what I have to talk about. If I ever need to invite them to something or there's something cool going on, like I already know they like the content. So I'm just now building a feedback folder. Then the other thing that I built is newsletter. So anyone that comes in like, hey, I like the newsletter, or they have a question about the newsletter, there's a folder about the newsletter. Then I have another folder that's based on wins. So anybody who's like, yo, I booked this meeting, it was fire, whatever. I have a wins section. And then I also have one based on events. So the events is very dependent on what event that I go to. So if I know I'm going to speak at an event, so for example, I'm going to B2B Marketing Exchange. So I'm going to create a folder called B2B Marketing Exchange. I'm the keynote and I do a workshop. I know I'm going to get 40, 50 messages, probably about like, hey, I like the workshop, whatever. But I want to make sure I document where I met that person, because I'm trying to do something for inbound right now and I can't find half the messages because the filtering's bad. So I'm just auto filtering these things, or no, not auto filtering. I'm filtering them myself to do that. So basically, my inbox is a full-fledged sales system and customer relationship system at this point. Every single thing is flagged appropriately according to where it needs to go.
The note I wrote down is tagging. So like you're able to tag everybody in a way, shape, or form. That is absolutely fucking awesome. All right. What are you using to keep track of the data in your experiments? So you do all of these experiments. How are you keeping track of the results of the experiment? Like, what's your process on that side?
For LinkedIn, the only way to really truly track it is LinkedIn's lead list. So every person that you put into a lead list, you can track the amount of things you've done and then do it that way. Or if you want to be super old school, like I've had to do before, a spreadsheet. I know that's not exciting. I'm trying to find a tech that can track this. So if anyone's building it or can build it, hit me up, because I'm surfacing inquiries for someone to build a tracker, because it's hard. But anyways, those are the only two ways to really do it successfully.
Awesome. Where's the comfort level come from with experimenting?
I think it doesn't, like, the comfort level comes from the fact that I don't like being comfortable. It's like, I don't like doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And I know if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, at some point it's not going to work. So I'm always testing. Plus for me, it's fun. And you have to treat it that way. It's like, also the thing is, like, you can't lose. You have to come into the mindset that, like, if you're testing something, you don't lose anything. Because if it's absolutely terrible, you're just at the same spot you already were at. Like, you're already at the foundation of where you were. So there's no downplay on that.
What's the fun part?
The fun part is uncovering something new that you now can add the gasoline to, right? It's, oh, wow, this works. Great. Now I can figure out why it works. I then can go educate people on it. I can create a whole thing around it, right? This is a new thing I did not know that worked. And this also allows me to get a little bit ahead, right? It gives me an edge of the competition because maybe they probably haven't figured this out yet, right? So it's just like when I found out about voice notes back at like 4 or 5 years ago. It's crazy. Still, people don't even know they exist. I was like, this has been around for like 5 years, and it's just things like that.
Some old people like me get irritated with the voice notes. I'm like, I'd rather just text things back instead of doing the voice note. It's learning.
Yeah. I get it. I find that everyone's over 40 doesn't like voice notes. This is what I'm identifying. But the thing is, here's the thing, is that, like, you also would be cranky if you got any text-based or AI-related message. You also would be cranky. So I'm okay with everybody being cranky, because it's like, you also don't want the AI stuff. So I'm going to send you a voice note or a video because it's at least it's real.
And what makes you think I'd be cranky? Do I look cranky?
You don't look cranky. It's just people over 40 don't like voice notes. I don't know what it is. Every time they get mad. Anyone over 40 is always mad. Somebody sent a voice note, and I'm like, I don't know what it is.
I got frustrated with somebody that a member of my team that I worked with earlier today, and we were going back and forth on text, and it just was not going well. So I ended up shooting a video and sending it his way. So it's one of those things where the cool thing about video, and I think audio, because of the speed at which it happens and authenticity. Now, what I wonder about audio is with some of the AI stuff, how quickly that can be repeated. I mean, the video stuff, and I know with tools like Synthesia and there are a couple of the other ones that are out there, you can start to get
Yeah.
into recreating video, but video is authentically me. I mean, if I'm walking around my house, I'm walking around my house. If I've got the whiteboard in front behind me, I've got the whiteboard behind
Right.
me, but you can see my eyes, you can see the energy behind it. You can feel and hear the tone, and that gets lost in text messages or gets lost in
Right.
email. It gets lost in a couple of other ways. I like the highlight of always be testing, have fun with it, have the mentality of, hey, I can't lose. And like, what's the worst that could happen as we go through this stuff?
That's it. Like, that's my whole entire mentality. I cannot lose if I do an experiment. It's near impossible. And if you do something well, then you're ahead. If you don't, then you're in the same place. So you don't lose.
Tell me what you've learned about yourself picking up pickleball.
Well, because I'm laughing because I'm impatient. This, but I'm actually so impatient. And I get so mad at myself because I just started a month ago. And so like I just don't like being bad at I just don't like being bad. I hate it. Like especially when you're learning something new and being bad and then people patronizing you. I don't like that either. Because people will know you're not like you just started. They're like, "Oh, it's okay." And I'm like, "No, it's not okay." I don't like being patronized. Like, and I know what to do. I don't like when people are like, "Oh, this is how you serve." It's like, I know what to do. I just get better. So yeah, I realize that I actually don't like people picturing. I don't like people calling me. I don't like people being soft towards me. I'm like, let's just play the game. Like, I just need to overall get better. I've also realized that my my reflexes is insanely fast, faster than I thought it was. So that's been super cool. And that I have really good power, so that's been fun. And that I I I'm way more competitive than I thought. But I was like, oh man, I'm very like I don't know, I haven't been competitive in anything in a while. So I think it's just been like kind of bottled in for like, I don't know, 3, 4 years. So now I can be competitive on something. Like I'm just like locked in. Like I'm there to be cool with you. We can be friends, but I'm also trying to win. I don't like losing.
This is why it is my commitment that in the next 3 years, I'm going to figure out a way to get Morgan on the golf course and get him competitive when it comes to golf, which is actually a hard sport. It's a hard game. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to throw shade or heat at a pickleball. But let's get you on the golf course.
Golf is hard for pickleball. I mean, that's not even, I think everyone knows that. But like, golf is a different game. I'm not ready for that. Pickleball is great for me. It's a great, hey, I can play for 2 hours. I got my paddle. We out here. I get to meet people. It's chill. I'm not ready for golf yet.
So
I gotta pass the pickleball first.
one of the cool things that I saw when you posted on pickleball the other day is having a great coach. How'd you
Yeah.
find your coach?
So I have this app called Teach Me, and if y'all want to dive into it, it goes into obviously pickleball, but there's there's bowling on there, basketball, there's golf. So I saw it, and I was like, okay, we'll get there one day. Dancing, it's like you name it, piano. And so I went on there, and I was like, all right, let's just go find the best person. So I literally found the person who was like the best. He had a 5 rating. He's been in the Olympics. He's like one of the top people in there. And I was like, great, all right, cool. But I paid for it. And then yeah, so I actually have a lesson in an hour from now. Every Friday at 3:30, we go in and do our thing. And he's an incredible coach. He's so good at coaching. So it works out very well.
What makes him good at coaching?
Literally 5 minutes in, Mike, when he asked me this question, I already knew he was going to be the best coach, one of the best coaches I've ever had. So he's like, hey, what sports have you played before?
Cool.
And he's like, I said basketball. He's like, great. The rest of the lesson, he correlated everything to basketball. He's like, all right, so when you play defense as a two, and he asked me what position I was too. It's like, yeah, 2 guard. He's like, all right, when you're a 2 guard, you play defense like this. At the net, you need to do this. And I was like, oh, easy. And he's like, all right, cool. When they lob, think about getting a rebound. All right, easy. So like, I've been able to learn so fast because he's just like, all right, in basketball, you do this, do it like this. And then every time, like, I'll do a certain swing, he's like, all right, like, you need to do it like this because you're more comfortable when you do it. It's like he's just able to pinpoint it very quickly to get me like on the right path. So that's what makes him a good coach is knows he understands what you already know and it correlates it to where he wants you to go.
That is the testimonial that you need to provide that coach because
He's one of the best coaches I've ever had.
it differentiate it's the differentiator between good coaches and crap coaches and what a lot of people why a lot of people will run into challenges with coaches is there are some people who will go through the book of how to coach effectively, and it will talk about how do you ask certain questions and how do you handle communication and all of those other pieces. And what the magic really happens when you can help people connect the dots between what they already know and what they need to know. And when you can do that, the synapse and work happens. And it's like getting an understanding of what are people into. Like I know Morgan is into the Georgia Bulldogs, the Atlanta Falcons, hip hop, pickleball now, testing the crap out of stuff, Mamba mentality, like these things. So when you can connect the dots between those things, general awareness of those things, and the next thing, it's amazing how quickly the magic can happen. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this will be our 5th training session. I feel like I probably have 2-3 months of experience. Like I'm able to hang with most people at this point, and like as we we're already like on advanced level stuff at this point because we're able to learn so fast because it's just like all right, like if you were to do this, cool, easy. Like he's just such a good coach. So shout out to him.
Well, it's because you're an athlete with great reflexes.
Yeah, look, it helps.
All right, so let's talk about faith. Let's talk about faith and this kind of being able to operate without fear. And what's faith mean to you?
I think the most for me is believing in something bigger than yourself that is hard to describe, but you know it's there.
How does that help you?
The hardest thing in life is knowing that this is really deep for some people, but this is actually true. Is knowing that you actually are alone. Like no one really cares, if we're being honest. Like you're probably the sort of person you married, your mom, your dad, brothers, sisters, but no one really cares. So that's hard for some people, but that's the real truth. Like people are really focused on themselves. So there's another component to it is that there's a whole spiritual war going on right now that most people don't like to talk about, but that's also real. And then there's so much happening in the world, stress that's happening. So it's like, what are you going to do when all this stuff isn't hard? What are you going to do when you face obstacles? You can try to rely on yourself, but we've seen this multiple times already. People crumble. The Loom founder was like, I have millions and millions of dollars. I'm empty. There are people who commit suicide and have millions and 50 million, $100 million. Jack Dorsey, who's worth $1 billion, doesn't even know what to do with his life. He's like on a spiritual retreat for the past 3 months. These are indicators that it's clear that you cannot handle everything by yourself. Even if you think so, I just gave very, very credible people that cannot do it themselves. So that's why it's important to believe in a higher power because it allows for you, in my case, God, it allows for you to be like, hey, God, you got it. Tell me what to do. Tell me where to go. Makes your life actually a lot easier and you have less anxiety and you're way more calm about things because it's not all on you. You actually have someone who's like going to show you along the way. Now, sometimes it's difficult because you're like, I don't know what's going on. But from what I've seen, it typically ends up being in the path that you would want in the long term, even though it may be hard in the short term.
What's been your faith journey? Like, where did you find your faith originally? Can you go back that far?
I grew up in the church. Mom and dad are Christian. They've set a really good example. They've been married ever since I've been birthed. So this, then I think been there 30 years now, 32, 31 years. So they've been together for a long time. And so the thing is that growing up in the church, you hear it, but you don't really receive it because I believe you have to find God and Jesus on your own and your own way and your own journey. So when I was in high school, I was all in. College was college. I wasn't really that deep into it, to be honest. When I got out of college, I went back. Then as I started traveling, I didn't go to the church as much. I wasn't in the word. I was just, doing all the training, coaching, and stuff like that. So I definitely stepped away from it. And as I've gotten to the founder journey, because of what the journey is, I was like, I just need to get a lot deeper with God. And I need to like take this way more seriously than what I did when I first started taking it seriously when I became a Christian. So my walk has definitely been up and down. I feel like most people's is probably what it is. And I've definitely had hardships in places where I was like, I don't even know what God's even doing, so I don't care. I'm at the point now where I realize that you can't really get the most out of something if you're not giving it 100%, right? If you're not like, hey, like, what if I just went all in? Like, what would that look like? And so for me, every single morning, I read from a devotional. My pastor in Atlanta was Lulu Giglio. So I still watch some of those sermons from time to time. I have a church out here in Arizona now, but I still watch those from time to time. But I got his devotional for Christmas. So every morning I read it. I read a verse I'm in Proverbs right now. And in the past week, I invited someone that I actually met through a friend. Holy Spirit called for me it was kind of weird because I was like, God, I don't know about this. This is just a weird ask. But I texted him. We just met. And I was like, hey, look, like this is going to sound really weird, but like I just feel called to like ask you if you want to like go on this devotional journey with me. I'll screenshot you every morning what it says and I'll tell you what I got out of it. And we've been doing it for this past weekend. It's like we're just bouncing off each other. It's been fire. And I'm like, man, like this is just what week one. Imagine what this is going to look like at the end of the year. And we're doing this every single day. Cause like now I feel accountable about it. Like I texted him like I took a screenshot and then I was like, I'll do it later. And he texted me like 2 hours and he was like, yo, where's the screenshot? And I'm like, I'm now accountable. I can't, I can't, I don't feel like so, but it's been really helpful because now I have someone in that fight with me. I now go to a men's Bible study every Tuesday night now. That's been insanely powerful. So I decided just to dive all in. And I think that's also like everything. Like if you're going to do the founder journey, you need to be all in. If you're going to start this new thing, you got to be all in. If you're going to decide, hey, I want to be great at something, you're going to have to be all in. Mama, Talia, Kobe, right? So I just realized I was all in on other things and I wasn't all in here. And so ever since I've done that, I've definitely seen the fundamental difference.
Awesome. What do you think people who struggle with their journey, or as you have struggled in different points, kind of the up and down? I think we all go. Well, I know I have struggled and gone through the ups and downs. What do you think people who have not either found their journey or avoiding the journey think about those who have? Like, what do you think is there like, it seems like more and more people are more comfortable sharing
Yeah.
aspects of their faith. And I don't know if that's partly because now I'm out there looking for it and seeing it and that's it and it's always been around, or
Yeah.
if it's something that's happening because of the operating environment that we're in. What's
It's
any thoughts
been
around that?
there has been an uptick, actually statistically. So
Okay.
last year there was a 30% increase in Bibles sold.
Hmm.
And I don't know everything about the other books, but I believe that's true. Somebody can fact check me, but I think I saw it was like 20, 30%, right? So clear indicator that's happening. I think also as well, because people have seen the opposite of what they believe in elevated so high. I'm not going to continue that. Y'all can paint a picture of what that means. I think people are now like, wait, if people are that going to be that crazy about something that makes no sense, I'm gonna be more adamant by my faith. Like I need to step up. And I think that's what I think because there's been the opposing factors, it's like now it's time to step up, right? So I think that's a big piece of it as well. And so I would say that there. I will speak from my own experience and I'll speak from other people's experience that are my friends that have dove deeper into their faith. And I also, at the cornerstone, I actually believe this, but this also might hurt some people, but this just is what it is. That means it probably is true. The reason most people don't get deeper in their faith or don't practice is because of their ego. You believe that you know more than anything else. So you believe my own foundation is better than anything else that's out there. That's basically what you're saying in the cornerstone, right? Or your zone or your genius is telling you that. Ego, genius, same thing. So it says in the Bible, like, I must decrease so he can increase, which means that it's an ego thing at the core. Like it says it in the Bible, right? Like John the Baptist wouldn't have said that if it wasn't due to the ego. So ego is the reason why most people overall just won't be successful to the level that they want. And even if you used ego to get somewhere, at the end route, you won't even feel the success because you're going to feel empty. And that's because of the spirit. So I would say at the end of the day, it has to do with ego. When you take away your ego, things become a lot easier. Like this year, like I took a full, like, I guess 180, 360. I don't know what it is. 180, maybe 180.
If you
It's
do
a
a 360, you're going back another week. I can never do watching.
This is clearly in directions. Oh, 180. And every single thing I'm doing right now has a coach. I just said, no, I just gave it up. So pickleball coach, right? I have a coach for branding right now. Like, okay, there's people who are way better at this video. I'm going to listen to you. I have a coach on my voice. There are people who are good at that. I have, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have a coach for what should I do on X. I'm good at social, but that's not my platform. Like, I decided, hey, God knows a better plan than I do. So why write a business plan? I mean, you can write one, but like, he probably has a better plan. So like, I just like was like, why am I even trying to like bang my head against the wall? Like, I know what I'm good at. I'll stick with what I'm good at. I think this is a really important point. When I say ego, I believe that you should have ego and genius in certain things you're really good at. So I think this is important. Like there are certain things, if you mention them, I'd be like, I am really good at this and I know what I'm talking about. This is a complete side note bar. Me and my executive coach talks about this a lot, is I do not like the quote, oh, we're all just out here winging it. No, there are some things I'm not winging it at. I know what I'm doing. Could you imagine if like the doctor was like, just winging it today? Like, why am I? So I don't like that quote. I think it's a very soft way of thinking about life. It's like, yes, there's some things we're obviously really trying to figure out, but like you would not hire someone because they're winging it. That's ridiculous. So anyways, side note. But yeah, I believe that ego is the reason why most people don't have that relationship. You do have ego in certain areas that make you proficient. That's why certain people are good at, that's why they're good at sports. They have the ego in that area. But you have to really lower that ego and let other people come in and coach you on certain things because you can't know everything to the highest degree of the expertise level. It's impossible. So I was like, hey, there's other people.
It's a personal journey. Like Morgan said, you are alone. And as you go through the journey, you realize that you're not alone. So it's like both of those things can happen. Both of those things can be true. And there's so many correlations between what we've been talking about and what we've just talked about, whether it's testing and trying things, or it's leaning on coaches and people who have been down part of the path, or setting your ego aside so that you have the confidence and the trust and the comfort in going and testing new things.
Yeah.
These things apply. And unfortunately, we as humans continue to have a very big challenge between our ears. Our brain continues to go and we continue to move through all of these processes and we make these assumptions. And even in this podcast, there are going to be things that were said, there are going to be things that you heard, and there are going to be things that are remembered. And if you go back in and read the transcript, you'll see absolutely everything that was said. But it wasn't what you heard, nor is it going to be what you remembered. And this perspective will start to shift when you take a step back, open up, and say, how can I focus on or learn or figure out what my specific genius is? So, Morgan, what's your genius?
I would say which is kind of part of the reason for the coaches, I'm really good at taking information and executing very quickly.
Yeah.
I absorb extremely fast. Now, the things I've done that really well with are like video, LinkedIn, speaking, etc. But if I had the zone of genius is I'm actually really good at just taking information and being like, okay, that makes sense, and then going and executing it and just running fast. So my whole thing is the reason I say all coaching and stuff like that is like I just have to invest into more coaching and more assistance. But the thing is, with every single thing you have the zone of genius, you have to realize you have to reduce the ego though. Because like if that is my skill set, I could be like, yeah, okay, and just like not get coaches and just watch YouTube videos or just read. But if I want to move at an accelerated speed, I have to get the coaching to move to that next step. But yeah, my zone of genius is literally absorbing skill, absorbing coaching, absorbing any information, and is like executing really fast slash educating people. Because I can absorb it really fast, I can also educate people really well based on the information that I receive. So that's like the zone that I play in, and that's why I do content and do the thing speaking. They all play together.
I think one of the things I've seen with you in the times that we've had a chance to interact with each other, both from the first recording back when you were doing the SDR Chronicles to back to where we are now, is that continuous focus on testing, the continuous focus on learning, the observing what really good looks like, taking the best parts of it, applying it and making it your own, seeing the value in pulling people together and collaborating. Like you've decided with AMP, it's not a solopreneur journey. I'm going to pull together a team of people and go much further as a result of that. So I would say you're on point with your genius, and I've seen it.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you a hard question. How would you describe my genius?
We're throwing it back. Well, the thing that you're really good at is synthesizing. So it's a little bit different, but similar to mine. So you're like, oh my gosh, what are those things called? They did the gold rush in the West. What are the shifters? What are they called?
I have no idea. I know what you're talking about. Those little pans, the pans that you go through, you kind of sift the thing around and you see the sediment kind of fall and the gold comes up to the top.
Because if you think about it, right, like when you do your whiteboard sessions or what you're doing, you're like, all right, I have a lot of experience. So just tell me what's going on. And as people talk, you're able to piece those things very quickly together to ultimately find the gold that people need to do whatever they need to do. So for you, like that's where you come into play.
Thank you. And thanks for being uncomfortable and dealing with me asking you an uncomfortable question off the cuff. This is one of those things where, it's one of those things where I think we as a group, and this is going to sound, I don't want to use the word should. And I actually, what I'm going to say is I would like to see more people get comfortable asking others what they see in me or what they see in you. And you start to get that reflection, and it's hard. You can't reflect on what you're going to do. You have to do it. You have to gain experience, and then you can reflect. And you don't always have to be the one holding the mirror. You can ask somebody else to hold up the mirror for you, and they might help you overcome some of these blind spots. And so I appreciate you answering the question. I'd like to see people get more comfortable asking those questions, getting the feedback, and then honing in on the things that fit. So they do the things that they're meant to, rather than, and this is one of the big challenges that's happening, especially in this space, as more and more people are building businesses and trying to figure it out, is they're like, ooh, that sounds like something I could do. And then all of a sudden you're doing it. And then that sounds like something. And before you know it, you've got so much scope creep that you happen to be in 80 different places and you're not doing any of them well. And you're burning yourself out, this time with a K1 or a 1099 instead of a W2. So be careful about falling. That trap is a real thing that's out there. And if you're listening to this and hearing this conversation, lean on your faith, lean on your testing, lean on the experimentation.
Yep.
Have a freaking plan and work the plan.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's so important, is that, was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah. We had a sermon, and the prayer was, hey, God, can you show me what is that's all. Careful. That's a hard prayer to pray, because it's going to do what you want. I'll tell you right now, I prayed that and everything changed. And I was like, wait, well, what's going on? But I mean, it's right though. Like ever since the adjustment, I prayed that, I was like, okay, this actually is right. But I didn't like it because it's not what I wanted. It's not what I thought. It's not what I thought what it would be. But actually, it is right. So that's like another thing that you could lean on as well, is if you are, you believe in God and y'all are out there, or you're just getting into prayer, that's something you can pray again. But you have to brace yourself for it not being what you think it's going to be. I'll tell you that right now.
Brace yourself. Morgan, awesome conversation. Thanks for spending the time. How do you think about flow in the context of either work or being or movement? What is flow?
I went to a men's retreat in December. So I did a lot of reflecting in December. And there's about 7 of us. We went to the mountains and everything. Also, I got shout out to my guy Michael. He made us do a cold plunge. I don't like cold plunges. I think they're overrated. I was like, bro, this does nothing for me except me being cold and my skin's irritated, but whatever. But that's a whole different conversation for another day. But we went through something called the healing circle. And basically it broke down different stages in your life. Fitness, mental, career, what was it? Relationships, spiritual, etc. I think that's right. And each of those 6 are 10 points. And so I got like a 42 out of 60 solid, but like my lowest ones were relationship, spiritual, and health. And so I was like, okay, well, even if I continuously go down this path that I do well at all these other things I just talked about, this is like not good, because as I continuously invest into the ones that are obviously over indexed, these things will under index and it's not going to look good. So I decided this year, how do I get more into flow, but still accomplish what I want to accomplish? So I completely changed my routine this year. It's only been a month in, and I actually think this is the best routine I've ever had in my life, to be honest, because I'm still able to be very active. I have lost, I think, 10 pounds since I've done this in a month, and I've been way more focused, and I don't get distracted by many things anymore. I deleted most things that were distracting to me. And now it allows for me to be more fit. I am more social because I picked pickleball to get more social and things of that nature. And now I have really good spiritual fellowship with other people in my community as well. And because I'm diving deeper with God, he's just putting the right people in place. This is crazy. We can wrap on this. This is just a crazy note. So I went to men's Bible study on Tuesday. Some new guy showed up in the group. We had a table or whatever, because we all do tables at the thing or whatever. And yeah, we ended up just having common ground. We're both same age, both single, trying to find out, get to the mistiness of all these girls out here, because they're crazy, right? So we're just find us a wife, yo. God, like, this is too wild. I don't want to pick them anymore. So anyways, he's like, yo, let me get your number. Cool, let's hang out. First thing he texted me is, and I've been praying for this, and I started laughing. He texted me. He's like, hey, just moved here about 2 months ago. I know pickleball's the thing, and I'm looking for a duo partner. Do you want to practice together? Just telling my coach about this, but I need a partner to start practicing together and everything. But I'll tell you, God's a funny. He cracked me up. But yeah, so that's what you need to do. You need to have a holistic flow. You have to, like, at this point, I'm convinced you have to have it.
God is funny, dude. Morgan, awesome conversation. Thank you. Where do you want people to go connect up with you? Take a look at what you're doing. Where do they hook up with you?
3 places. Check me out on LinkedIn, Morgan J. Ingram, pretty straightforward. YouTube there as well, Morgan J. Ingram, and then Twitter as well. If you want to see my crazy takes, you can hang out with me there.
Awesome. If you know somebody who would enjoy this podcast, get something out of the conversation, please share it with them. Let Morgan and I know both via LinkedIn and Twitter. The shares help. When we see them happen, we can engage with them there. Sales is a thinking process. Business is a thinking process. Life is a thinking process. How are you thinking different about your process?